Guinan's Uncle Turkham was the only member of her family with a sense of humor. Geordie and Barclay show off their Michael Jackson gloves. And Chief Miles Edward O'Brien says, damn it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 3, Episode 21 already. Whoa, where does the time go? Hollow Pursuits, written by Sally Caves. It's a little familiar. Directed by Cliff Bole, of course. This was April 28th, 1990. Where were you and your windbreaker? How you doing today, Cirroc?
In your MC Hammer pants or something.
Mm-mm.
I'm good. I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing just fine. When you said the MC Hammer pants, I just pictured that dance. You know, he's like,
Yeah.
oh.
Do you remember those pants? Those like
Oh yeah,
parachute pants?
of
Was it was
course.
it was it in, like I thought it was around that time period,
Oh
around like
yeah, that was
early
right
90s.
around Hammer time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, stop.
Uh,
Hammer. Okay.
okay. I make that. But yeah, that was the time. And then we they also used to have those hats, and it was the time period when you would flip your hat up like this. Remember that time period?
Yes, I do actually. That did not last. That was like 1, maybe 2 years. And then after that, there
Yeah.
was kind of the curling the bill of the hat. You remember that?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I
That was
do.
fun.
I
Wow,
do
I
remember
forgot
that.
about
But
the flipping up of the hat. Wow.
yeah, there was
I'm gonna
that
do
flip
that.
up of the
People will think I'm
hat.
real cool when I walk into the Kmart with my thing up and my
We are saved by
sandals.
the bell look.
I haven't been in the Kmart since the 80s, I think. Do they still exist? Is that a thing? Or is it like Toys R Us?
I haven't seen one. I haven't seen one. I think it's gone. Yeah.
Unless we're talking about basketball player.
No.
Everybody knows Kmart.
Wait, well, let me segue because we got to get back on the Star Trek.
Please. Because you know what? I love this episode. I was so happy to watch this episode.
This is my question for you because I didn't even really do much real homework on this. I just feel like I know this off the top of my head. Tell me that's not the guy from the 18. No, I can't hear you. Yes?
Cirroc Lofton, this is why we love you. It is Murdoch from the A
Yes.
Team. Yes.
Yes.
Playing two
Yes.
completely different characters, right?
Oh my God. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, it's Murdoch. How did Murdoch end up on Star Trek? That's all I could say to myself. I was like, because he's so fun to watch on the A Team. I'm thinking this is like the A Team on Star Trek. It's one of the greatest. I was just waiting for a B.A. Baracus or some Mr. T to
Yeah.
come out of the back.
Da, 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 da,
Or at least
da,
I love it when a plan comes together,
yes,
you know,
Hannibal.
a little cameo line, something like that. But
Okay, so
very good, very
Picard
good.
would be Hannibal, right? I love it when a plan comes together, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
what do we got? Maybe in this episode, Geordie would have to be B.A. Baracus, right? Worf kind of has
Yeah.
his beef, but BA was actually not that tall, so Geordie's could be a good
Yeah.
one. And then
Plus, you gold out that he's got the gold visor, and let's put some chains
just
on.
drop it down, and
Yeah.
then Riker would have to be face, but he'd have to shave again.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
Man, I bet that's out there somewhere already.
That's got to be so. Somebody had to do the mirror universe of this episode.
Yeah.
I wonder if Sally Caves wrote for the 18 because it was just too good to be true for me. And Murdoch, man, I always knew he was a good actor because he's good at playing slightly off a little bit, like this kind of
Yep.
that Murdoch character was like kind of half crazy, right? You didn't know what the hell he was thinking or about to do. And everybody looked at him like, oh, that's me, Murdoch. But he was a little bit like touched in some type of way. And I felt like he played this character a version of that. Not necessarily touched, but just like somebody who has this inner conflict that he's dealing with. And I thought that was just
Totally.
like perfectly executed.
Hmm. So I remember when I first started watching Star Trek, I was like, I really liked Barclay because he's a really smart guy. He's just a weirdo, you know? And you always kind of root for that kind of character. You always go like, this guy's gonna, because he's got that untapped potential and you want them to unlock that potential. And I just would always really like him and root for him. Plus, it's Murdoch, of course. So it's so cool. Great character actor, Dwight Schultz. Um, so I wanted to ask you though, Cirroc,
Yeah.
did you laugh in this episode? Did it make you laugh when it opened up and it's just got Guinan saying, "Hey, I don't want any trouble," and Barclay says, "I don't know what you mean." She's like, "Wherever you go, trouble follows." Did you know right away, okay, there's some kind of weird holodeck, or were you like, what the hell's going on?
Oh yeah, no, right away I knew that this was some kind of, we were in somebody's dream, a holodeck, somebody's fantasy. I just didn't know whose. I wasn't quite sure from whose perspective this was taking place, but once I saw Murdoch, I mean, it just already kind of, I don't know, there's this like deep breath that you take where you relax and you're like, okay, don't take this too serious. Enjoy yourself. He's going to make this fun to watch. There's a certain way that it's like a comfort zone when you watch certain actors perform. I think Chevy Chase does it. When I watch Chevy Chase, there's like oh man, I'm just going to enjoy myself and let myself laugh and enjoy whatever's going to happen. Um, Three's Company, where Jack Tripper kind of had that charm about himself too, where you were like, all right, this is going to be fun. Let me just not take everything too serious and
Now
enjoy the ride. So
you're talking about my idol, Mr. Jack Tripper, right there, by the way.
yeah, and just there's this like comfort zone. There's this, you let your guard down and enjoy the ride. So when I saw him, I thought this is going to be one of those fun episodes. And I gotta say, I laughed so much in this episode. I couldn't believe it. This is probably number one on my rewind list of how
Nice.
many moments I rewound and just had to watch over and over again because I was laughing my ass off. It was hilarious. It was
I
hilarious.
I did a lot too. When I rewound the most, where I wanted to eat my screen. I just wanted to just chew on it in a good way, like Worf does with books. Is I want was when Picard calls Barclay broccoli. And
Oh
he
my
goes,
god!
and
Yes.
first, because Picard's trying to be super nice, he's like, "Oh, very good. Oh, yes, yes." And he's like, "Oh, very good. Thank you, Mr. Broccoli." And then he's like trying to be Mr. Broccoli. And he's trying to forcing this, it looks like a painful smile, and then his eyes go, "Oh shoot, what did I just do?" And even funnier than his reaction was Riker's nonverbal communication. Riker is the most
Yes.
impish because
Yes.
he's when Broccoli's talking, he's going like this, and then he looks at Picard like, "See what I mean?" Like, see what he's doing this kind of thing, like,
Yeah.
see. And then when Picard says broccoli, Riker goes like,
His eyes.
and then the third one was when afterwards when Captain Picard goes, "Oh, broccoli," and then Riker goes
Yes.
back to like laughing at him. He's like, dude, the facial reactions and nonverbal
Yes.
communication from Jonathan
Yes.
Frakes is magical. And I
Yeah.
keep thinking he's an act. I always thought this.
Yeah.
He was an actor
Yeah.
that acted like a director. He acted as if
Yeah.
he knew the big picture of what the director's going to want, what the audience is going to focus on. He is just like the seasoning for that steak of that scene, I thought,
Yeah, he does what the audience wants is feeling, right? So
Yeah.
he plays that mirror of the audience. So it's like the as the audience, like, did this dude just say that? But I want to give credit to Patrick Stewart too, because the way he played that scene, the way he felt embarrassed but kept his poise and act like he didn't. It's like when you fall down, you act like you didn't fall down, and you kind of try to play it off moment. He tried to play it off, and it was great. The way he held his facials, it was like Barclay, and just the bounce and forth between the way he was trying to play it off and the way Jonathan Frakes was giving facial reactions. The contrast there was just, that's what makes Star Trek. Those are the funny moments between cast members, between characters, that you feel like, oh, this is why I like this show, because of these kinds of moments. This is I get these characters enough to know that he wants to be the captain doesn't want to have any flaw or embarrassing moments. So anytime he finds himself in an embarrassing moment, we love it, and Riker rubs it in his face. So it's perfect.
Yeah,
but I had a funnier moment though. Not a funnier moment, but another funny moment.
All right, let's hear it.
And my other funny moment is when Murdoch slash Barclay, when Barclay was inside of Counselor Troy's office, and she's like, "Have you ever been with a counselor before?"
Yes,
and he's like,
yes, that was killer. And I missed that the other times I watched this episode. I only caught it this time. I was like, wait a second, what did I just hear?
It was the best because he says yes, no.
No. Well, not a real one.
Oh my god, the way he says yes and then catches it and says no. I thought it was one of the greatest moments I've ever seen. It just like, but by the way, this episode brought up one of the best debates that I've ever heard, not fully expanded upon. And this is what we really got to get into too. Holodeck protocol.
Yep. Rights.
The rights.
The rights of the people that these programs are based off of. It was touched upon in Deep Space Nine, right? With Major Kira and some guy that was trying. Yeah, the sex tape. Yeah, so but this came first. So this was more like planting that seed, right? And they don't really get into the moral code.
But they bring it up.
Yeah. So that's why Deep Space Nine got into it a little bit more deeply, because here they're just acting shocked, but they're not actually discussing whether it's right or wrong, the moral implications of it, whether it's legal.
Well, Riker says it should be. Yeah. I think they said it's not illegal or something, and he's like, "Well, it should be. Like this is ridiculous, right?" And that actually is interesting because it gets directly into a debate that we're having this moment in time with AI
and using our likeness, yes,
and using likeness.
Yep, that's
almost exactly what's happening right now. So it's like, because when you see your likeness used in compromising things, and things that you wouldn't exactly sign up for, it has a reaction. There is a reaction. It caused one in both Riker. It caused one in Troy. They had a kind of visceral reaction to seeing a likeness of them that they didn't necessarily approve.
Yeah. Well, Riker was pretty funny, but that was a nice little exchange where she's like, belay that order, and then when when Deanna Troi sees her goddess of empathy, which, by the way, she acted the hell out of that. I was like, would she really be that shocked? I mean, maybe. It's pretty bad, but she was like, all right, that's it. I am going to go nuts on this guy. And then Riker gets back. He's like, belay that order. No, we got to see what.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, we don't want to see ourselves being used without our permission. That's it. Especially not in whatever fantasies going on. Now, what we saw on the screen was rather harmless, But what was implied in the yes no situation was that it was less than harmless. It was much, much worse than that. And that after all the sleepy naps and the cuddles and all this, then, he's like, so anyway, let's go jump in these bushels here and so on.
Yeah. What happened with those bushels?
Let's jump behind this hilly brush.
Speaking of that, I was laughing my ass off when I know Riker had the funnest time doing this episode, because of the one line he had that I could not even believe was said, and of course Riker's the one who says it in this episode. But they call for the other number one on the Three Musketeers or whatever it is, and he comes running up and he says, "Am I late? Am I, or something?" And he says, "Oh, what a likeness." He says, "Is it possible our swords crossed somewhere before?" I'm thinking, did they talk about? Did Riker ask other Riker if their swords have crossed? How ridiculous is that? I could not believe I was watching that. How did they get away with this particular entendre into this particular episode?
I think it's an old saying. I hope it's an old saying. Otherwise, Sandy Caves, you got some things to say.
Explaining to do. Yeah.
Sally Caves. Sorry, Sally Caves. Who, by the way, if her name sounds familiar, it's because we have reviewed her other Star Trek episode, which is season 1, episode 5 of Deep Space Nine, Babel or Babel. People pronounce it differently.
Oh.
Episode 5, 5th episode of Deep Space Nine, story by. But that's it from her. I was hoping there'd be more because that was pretty good stuff. I laughed throughout this whole episode. There were so many written gems. And I can't help but wonder if when the actors saw this script, if they really get up for it. Maybe some of them, I don't know, might look and be like, we're doing comedy. I thought this was a serious show. I thought this was, but I feel like most of them, when they read this, they're like, this is hilarious. This is great. I can't wait to let loose and stretch out my comedy muscle a bit, especially like Picard. Oh, big surprise. Picard gets to play an Englishman again, like, oh, so say thee, and doing all this stuff, I'm like, he and Brent Spiner love that stuff, but I don't know. What do you think?
That stuff.
Do you think they saw that script and went nuts?
Yeah, because this looks like a Patrick Stewart kind of, this is appeasing his pretty much what his likes are and dislikes. So this goes into his getting to chance to dress up, and I guess it was a Three Musketeer, like I said, kind of play off. So at least that's what it felt. The period of, or the costume design. So they didn't specifically mention it, but I had that vibe, and just to play, dress up with the sword and the mustaches, and it seems like something that is up Patrick Stewart's alley. It's something that he would be interested in doing. So I think for that one, it placates to their strong points of what they love doing in this kind of grandiose performance, and it's almost kind of overacting, style of performing. So yeah, I thought they were having a whole lot of fun doing it, and I think also, from my own perspective, when you get to play a character outside of the character you always already play, you have this creative freedom to like play some more. And I think that's one of the reasons why Far Beyond the Stars was such a good episode on DS9, because not only was it just telling this very important story about Black people and their struggles in that period, but it's also reflecting the kind of same characters we already know, and taking them and stripping them out of the elements that we already see them in, and letting them play in a different kind of storyline. Of course, Dixon Hill and all of that stuff is another form of it. But whenever you get the chance to do that, you get to have fun. And I think that's what was happening on the set. You could tell they're having a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that Patrick Stewart was interested in doing, Beverly Crusher also had an what? Beverly Crusher also had an interesting scene. Although she and Worf didn't have much to do because in a script like this, when you're adding in new characters, some others have to kind of fall back, right?
Yeah.
Crusher, I feel like she was only in one or two scenes. Worf, I thought Worf had the week off until we saw him at the end. He had like one line or something, so he basically had the week off. But then we got a lot more Guinan, some
He
great
did
moments.
steal the show in a moment though, because when the whole thing was going down and there were like 15 seconds, he did one of these, the Worf panic.
Yes, yes, the patented Worf concern, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was
Uh,
like, the guy they bring it in for one day, and he's got to go to the go-to
yeah,
5 seconds.
yeah, he's got to knock it out of the park. He's like, hey, I got one half day on Friday. Let me
That's
knock
it.
this thing out. I'm all stretched out and ready to go. Um, yeah, but Guinan got a little bit more. We got some Chief O'Brien, a little more
Yeah.
expansion there. We got a new character in Barclay. We also got a lot of Lieutenant Duffy. Lieutenant Duffy had a lot of lines, and now I'm curious. I'm like, wait, did it, do we see more of Duffy? Because I feel like I remember his name. I feel like I remember his character, but maybe I'm just imagining it. Let me check real quick because it actually, let's take a super quick break. And when
Yeah.
we get right back in just a moment, we will reveal what's up with Duffy because I do remember a McDuff. There was Commander McDuff. So that's a different guy.
See,
Get
I
right.
only know Duffy as a beer from The Simpsons, I think. But
Yep.
is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it Duffy or is it? Yeah, it's Duffy. I can see
I
it
think it's
too. It's like
Duffy.
a
Yeah.
square thing in
Yeah.
the kind of diagonal.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
think
we'll
it's
be
a
right
beer.
back
Yeah.
on. No, maybe it's Duff. I think it's just Duff
Is it Duff?
beer.
Okay.
Boy, so many mysteries. We'll be right back
All right.
on the seventh rule.